This is the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com, hosted by Jerry and Mark, your one-stop shop for all horrible movie reviews. From the latest blockbusters and independent films to classics, let Mark and Jerry convince you the world is a dangerous place, though often good for a laugh. Now come and listen to the Horror Movie Show, if you dare.
Hello there, folks. Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you another episode of the Horror Movie Show from hmpod.com. Please, come on by. Set a spell.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, yes. Listen to some old shows. And yes, Happy New Year to you. So we have a bunch of new movies. Let's see. Okay, until the very end. They're all 2014 movies. So maybe some of them will even make our top 10 list. Let's begin with a very slick Hollywood movie, Predestination, written and directed by the Spierig brothers, which is Michael and Peter Spierig, based on All You Zombies, a short story by Robert Heinlein. I haven't seen anything based on Robert Heinlein in a long time. Last thing I can think of is Starship Troopers.
Which was a great movie.
Yeah, terrific movie. Better movie than a novella, I would say. Now, this Predestination, it stars Sarah Snook, great name. She plays the unmarried mother, and Ethan Hawke, he plays the bartender. The only other character that is in this movie from beginning to end is played by Noah Taylor. He plays Mr. Robertson, who's sort of a CIA operative, but he's more than CIA.
Yeah, he's like in charge of a division or something like that.
Yes, very, very secret. I
mean,
we all know about the CIA. Nobody knows the real organization that Mr. Robertson belongs to. So this movie is about time travel, and it's
one heck of a story.
I loved it. It's one of the best time travel movies that I've seen.
I have never seen a time traveling movie like this.
The closest I can think is 12 Monkeys. The way you see the main character at many stages of his life.
Yeah.
You see him as a child, and you also see him as an adult. And that's what Sarah Snook's character is. You see her as a little girl, and you see her as a teenager, and you see her as an adult, and you see her going through a hell of a lot of changes as an adult.
Now, the beauty behind this movie is that we can't tell you much about it.
You don't want to ruin it.
Because it is a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And you don't know what the heck is going on.
Don't know who is who.
And at what time things are happening, because they're jumping through history.
Yeah.
And back and forth.
Yeah.
So what you experience at the beginning of the movie...
Mark, you look pained. Did this movie stretch your brain?
Yeah, it did. It's so... Yeah. Warped and so weird and so wonderful that you just, at the end of it, you go, whoa, this is like circle upon circle upon circle upon circle, and they're all connected.
The snake eating its own tail forever.
Yeah. And, oh my God. And there's two main characters, but at the same time, it's like, like they're all over the place.
And also those two main characters, you don't even know which is which, who is who. It plays with your mind to that extent. And like I say, without giving it all away, the best we can do is just say how really well done they are at confusing the audience. Although, by the end, the confusion is cleared up.
Yes.
As best you can. But they play so beautifully with the paradox that is time travel.
Yes.
And what do they have? They have a window of something like 51 years from forward and backwards from zero. So wherever time travel was invented, you can only go so many years into the future and so many years into the past. And that as time goes on, that length of time will get bigger. But for now, where this movie is, you're only allowed to go so far. But, that's enough to cover a person's lifetime.
Put in its simplest form, it's an agent trying to catch a criminal that is going to blow up a building in the future.
He's going to blow up a neighborhood in New York.
Yeah.
Huge.
So he's trying...
Tens of thousands of people killed.
He's trying to prevent it, and that is the simplest way of what's happening.
But that mission, while that it's important to the agent, I don't think that's what the agent first and foremost wants to do. He has to put the Sarah Snook's character onto a path.
Yes.
Right? And it isn't until near the end of the movie that the agent understands that by putting her on this path, what he has actually done.
Right.
And it's not all bad, and it's not all good.
No.
I mean, but it's so complicated, and it's so wonderful. You know, every now and then I'd think, oh my gosh, could this be where it's going? And sometimes I was right, and sometimes I was wrong, but I was really making like wild guesses. Could this possibly be an explanation for what I'm seeing? And if that was true, it was just like, well, I couldn't have come up with a wilder explanation.
Yeah.
But, I love this. I'm waiting to watch it with somebody because I just watched it on my own.
Yeah.
But
I want to watch it a second time just to, now that I know what's going on.
Yeah.
To see what nuances are there.
See the clues and so on that are laid out.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I watch it with somebody who hasn't seen it, say Amazing Trixie, I really have to bite my tongue. You know, hey, oh look, this is it.
Yeah.
That'd be an obnoxious way to watch it. But you know, time travel movies, by their very nature, they're sort of couched as science fiction movies, but really they're fantasy. Because science fiction ideally takes you to a place where it's potentially possible, and I don't believe that time travel is potentially possible. Not today, you know.
Of course not. It hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah, that we know of, yeah. But it seems plausible, even though it's fantastic, it seems plausible the way they do it in this. And they certainly don't bog you down with a lot of technology.
No, not at all.
Technobabble.
This is more of a detective mystery kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Again, a film noir sort of feel to it. Yeah. Yeah,
so it's not a bunch of scientists running around, and it's not an action. Well, I don't know.
It has action.
But
the whole first half of the movie is Sarah Snook's just telling her life story.
Yeah,
and we see her from when she is a little girl growing right up to the moment that she's in the bar talking to Ethan Hawke's bartender.
Yeah,
telling him her life story. But oh my gosh, the twists and turns that Sarah's life takes.
Yeah.
She is really good. When she first walks into that bar, I thought it was Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Looked very much like Leonardo. And then you realize that she was a girl, but...
I kind of figured that it was a girl. Her voice...
Yeah.
Women who get hormone injections have a tendency to sound that way, the deeper voice, but it's not a real male's voice.
I know. Yeah, her character just goes through such changes, and you have to see it to believe it. Okay, we have another movie. This one is certainly more science fiction than horror. Automata, 2014 movie, directed by Gabe Ibanez, written by Ibanez, Igor Lagaretta, and Javier Sanchez Donati. And please excuse my pronunciation. It stars Antonio Banderas as Jacques Vaucan, Dylan McDermott as Sean Wallace, Tim McInerney, talk more about him in a moment, as Vernon Conway, Melanie Griffith, she does the voice of the robot Dupree.
And she also has a small part in it.
Yeah, a little bit. Robert Forster plays Robert Bold, and Javier Bardem plays the voice of the blue robot.
This is a weird little movie.
Yeah, I don't know how little it is. I mean, they certainly got good effects in it.
Yeah, and it said the budget was $7 million.
$7 million, yeah, I saw that.
Which is really low for something.
Shot in Spain, but in English.
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, Spain and I think it was Bulgaria or Romania.
Something like that.
Yeah, because a lot of the technicians have Yugoslavian names. Yeah, well, you tell us about this movie, Mark. I quite liked it.
Well, Antonio plays this guy named Jacques Vaucan, I guess his name. He's an insurance guy.
Mm-hmm.
He
Works for the company that makes
It's sort
robots.
of like a Blade Runner kind of thing.
He works in the insurance department of the company that makes the robots.
If something happens to a robot, he's supposed to kind of like do a little investigation and determine whether or not the insurance will cover it or not. He's like an adjuster.
Yeah. And the robots specifically have some rules, one of which is that the robot cannot fix or change itself. The robot cannot make itself smarter
there's two rules.
Or stronger.
One, they can't hurt anybody.
Right.
And the other one is they can't adjust themselves.
They're not supposed to.
And Jacques, he's wandering through this place looking for this robot, and he finds another robot repairing itself.
That was Dylan found that robot because he blows it away.
So Jacques is there to determine what the heck went on, what's with this robot.
Yeah.
The cop claims that he was repairing itself, and that is a no-no.
Yeah.
So the higher-up said, well, go through there and just get rid of this case.
Right.
We do not want any publicity because we don't want public being scared of these robots if they're self-thinking or whatever. So that's what he does. He wants to know the truth, but at the same time, he doesn't want to panic anybody.
Right.
And he ends up finding out that it is true.
Yes, there's sort of a secret subculture of robots, and I think there's some people involved.
Melanie Griffiths is involved. She is the one that looks at the robot that they had shot in the head.
Right.
And she takes a part of the chip, or the sort of like the mind chip, and superimposes it onto a healthy chip. And lo and behold, the robot, after a couple hours, just goes and starts rebuilding itself, putting on a new leg, adjusting itself, and things like that.
So some sort of a quantum leap has been made here where the robots are actually self-conscious.
And they know that if they're discovered, that they will be terminated.
Right.
So they're trying to get away from the city.
Yeah,
and
there is a Blade Runner vibe to it. You're right. I'm not sure I'd thought of that, but it's true.
And they end up kidnapping Jacques and taking him out into the wasteland. Yeah. And they're on their way to some sort of facility out in the middle of nowhere, little place near what looks like the Grand Canyon.
Right.
And
middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And other cops are after Jacques because they figure he's the one in charge of everything, and he's the one that is responsible for these robots.
Well, he works for the company, at least.
Yeah.
He isn't just a cop.
Who?
Jacques is not a cop. He's an insurance adjuster.
No, but the cops think that he is the one responsible for these robots misbehaving.
Yeah. He's a company man, so he doesn't have the outside interest that the cops do in making sure that this all stops. Jacques has to also think of the company's interests. So can he be trusted?
Right. So he's been kidnapped, so he's being literally dragged because he wrecks his leg. Yeah. And they're dragging him on sort of a chair from his car, actually.
Traveler.
And so the cops are after him, as well as the company men are after him, and they're all trying to get a hold of these robots before they go over this big canyon. On the other side is freedom for some reason. I don't know why. But on the other side of this canyon, if the robots make it, then they're free.
Mexico or something.
Anyway, so that's what the movie's about, is that these guys are trying to catch these robots. And you find out what's happening to the robots. And they're not malicious or anything.
It's evolution. They have the potential to surpass us, which is why these two rules were laid on them, to keep them from evolving.
Yes.
And now the robots have become self-aware. Well, one robot specifically, the blue robot, became self-aware, and he started spreading the information to his fellow robots, and it's like a wave now that's going through all the robots. So they know that they can be better than their creators.
Well, that's why those stop gaps were put in there, is to prevent them from getting beyond us.
Yes.
And so that we were always on top.
Yeah.
So now things are not happening that way. But it's a nice little movie. They end up with this big confrontation at the end.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
Yeah. Well, so that's Hollywood for you. Although this isn't a Hollywood movie, it's Spanish and Romanian. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a good little science fiction movie. Not a lot of horror in it, but good, fast-paced in some scenes. Although I always find Antonio Banderas to be a little on the dull side. I find him a little, I don't know. There's just something about him I find
think he's trying to be
thick-tongued and... dull.
Yeah, I think he'd be better if he was speaking in Spanish. He's trying to get out of the Hollywood roles that he usually gets. He's trying to do something a little more grittier.
Yeah, maybe.
He's not a Harrison Ford.
No.
So, he can't pull off that rough, gruff kind of detective kind of...
No, he'd better in the Roberto Rodriguez movies, I think, where he was playing the gunslinger.
Yeah.
I like those.
Somebody with a sense of humor, more light role.
Not a lot of laughs in this one. It reminded me a little bit of the Will Smith movie, too, I, Robot.
Yeah.
Which also had rules laid down, hard copied onto the robot's brains.
And they're similar stories, really.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, if it rips off anything, it's ripping off I, Robot more than Blade Runner. But yes, there are touches of that because the Banderas character does start to have a little empathy for the robots. They don't want to be slaves now that they're aware.
Yeah.
They want to be the best that they can be. But does that mean that human beings have to be wiped out, or can they coexist?
They didn't seem to be malicious in that regard. They just wanted to be able to be themselves.
Well, if they're better than we are, then maybe they wouldn't be malicious.
Yeah.
It's us who are the malicious ones.
Exactly. We're the ones that are paranoid.
Yeah. So, next movie is called Apocalyptic, 2014, written and directed by Glenn Triggs. Stars Jane Elizabeth Barry as Jodie Black, David McCrae as Michael Gordon, Jeff Pinfield as Kevin Horner, and Rachel Torrance as Samara. This is a real super low budget zombie movie. And is this the one where they... Yeah, now I'm trying to remember. Is this the one where they...
No. This is the Doomsday Cult.
Oh, you're right. Okay, forget everything I just said, folks. Yes, this is the Doomsday Cult. That's right. Okay. I was getting... It's something we reviewed a while ago. I was getting it mixed up. Yes, that's right. This is about a pair of reporters, a reporter and a videographer. And they get into a doomsday. Well, they get into a cult.
It's the typical story again. Yeah. When they get there, it's one guy that everyone calls father, kind of the father figure, and it's just a bunch of women.
Yes.
There's young
women and children.
And they all seem to adore him, and he's telling them that the end of the world is coming and that they are all blessed and they're all going to go on to the next level of...
And we learn that the first step to perfection has already happened.
Yes.
Which is that the men have been sent on ahead.
That's right. And
really? Where have they been sent? They're waiting for us somewhere.
They're preparing the afterlife for them, and it is afterlife.
Yeah, well... We don't know that, not at first. In fact, it takes quite a long time. But yeah, if you've seen The Sacrament, this is not as good as The Sacrament.
It has been compared to The Sacrament. It's been compared to the VHS2, that section of
the Asian Doomsday Cult.
And a little bit of the Blair.
That was a lot more fun.
And a little bit of the Blair Witch Project thrown into boot.
It's a found footage movie, but I thought quite well done. It's a good excuse for the found footage. A lot of them, there just is no excuse for them, but I enjoyed this.
I found it so similar to The Sacrament that I just said, well, what's the point of redoing it? It's almost exactly the same story.
Yeah, I know. I still thought it was worth watching. I enjoyed watching it. Father was, just like the father in The Sacrament, was pretty darn scary.
He's one of these guys that is smiling all the time and telling you how everything's so great, how he loves the followers, and every night he would take a different woman to bed with him.
Child.
Yeah, it turns out.
A little girl.
When he takes a younger girl, that's when the reporters get a little bit upset.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on?
The female reporter and her videographer is a dude, and the woman is much more attuned to this, I think. Although the guy is outraged by what he himself sees. He comes across a small field that's got the body parts of the men sticking up out of the ground,
hands and
fingers and stuff. So he comes back and he says, I've got proof there's foul play going on here.
We got to get out of here.
She wants to stay, and by the time she's ready to go, it's too late. I think it was quite chilling, and I thought it was well done. I think this would be a great double bill with The Sacrament.
It's stating the same story twice.
Well, I thought it was different
with
enough.
A few minor changes.
Yeah, I thought it was different enough that it was interesting. A different style to the cult leaders.
Now, according
to... The Sacrament, of course, is all Jim Jones and Jonestown.
Well, this is sort of Jim Jones.
No, this to me is more Manson-esque. This is, I don't know, just smaller, less organized, and...
there were some people that were forced to their end.
Yeah.
And that was sad because they wouldn't let them leave, even though they wanted to leave.
And the children couldn't be protected.
No.
Yeah. That was the same with both. But, yeah, when it comes right down to short strokes and it's time to poison your children, there's still going to be a few people with some doubt.
So it's a pretty simplistic thing. It's just reporters going into some forest, being blindfolded so that they wouldn't know exactly where they were, and just their footage that they shoot.
Yes.
Now, the director, Glenn Triggs, mentions that there's no CGI, special effects kind of things in this movie. No. So it's pretty simplistic.
Yeah. I don't think there were any great special effects in The Sacrament either. They're both shot on video, rather simple little movies. Okay, let's get on to one that did have some special effects, and they shouldn't have been given that much money. It's the movie Left Behind, directed by Vic Armstrong, written by Paul Lalonde and John Pattis, based on the best-selling books about biblical revelation. Stars Nicolas Cage as, now does this sound like a made-up name? Rayford Steele. Cassie Thompson as Chloe Steele. Leah Thompson, haven't seen her in a while, as the wife and mum, Irene Steele. Chad Michael Murray is Buck Williams, and Nikki Whalen is Hattie Durham. So the idea is that Nicolas Cage is a pilot who's cheating on his wife, disappointing his daughter, who goes to the airport and finds out that her dad is two-timing mum. Mum is a severe nutcase, fanatical Christian who keeps trying to convert her husband and daughter and younger son to being a fundamentalist Bible thumper. And the daughter is just like a fairly normal girl. And one day...
She comes home from school. She lives at the university or wherever she is.
She's off at school.
She's coming in for her dad's birthday. And her dad decides that he's going to work on his birthday, and they meet up at the airport. She gets in right when he's to leave.
She sees him making out with his
not making out, but having a chummy conversation with her anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it's obvious they're lovers.
Yeah. He kind of makes an excuse, and who I don't even know who she is. We were just having a little talk. That's all.
Yeah.
He ends up taking the flight from New York to London.
He's in the middle of the air. He's somewhere over the Atlantic, and the rapture comes.
Yeah.
And the mom and the little brother, because he's just a child, all the children immediately go. So all the rabid Christians just vanish without even a pop, and their clothes are left behind. And this happens on the airplane too. Suddenly half the seats, even 3/4 of the seats are empty, and the righteous have been ascended into heaven.
No one mentions the rapture, though.
I know. They try to be careful and not rub the Christian thing in, but the mom is a real obnoxious Christian nutbag.
Now, it was really well done.
To the point where the husband and the older daughter can't stand the mother because all she does is yammer on about her crazy Christian nonsense.
Right. Now, it was really well done how everyone was raptured. The teenage girl and her little brother are at the park. He's running towards her, and he runs to give her a hug. Yeah. And all of a sudden, there's nothing there but clothes.
Yeah,
the clothes
they are hugging. They are hugging, and then pop, and he's gone.
Yeah, and it's like all its clothes clothes are the only thing that remained, and she kind of pulls it in towards her body, and it's like there's nothing
suddenly
there.
Up in heaven, there's all these naked people all milling around, and all of them with pure thoughts because they're good Christians.
Except for the Christians would go, no, we can't look at each other's private parts.
Well, what kills me about this is that, okay, so how many Christians are of the fundamentalist school? Now, that might seem in certain parts of, say, America, it might seem like a lot of people got raptured, but if you look at the world,
yes,
there's none of the Indian people, none of the Chinese, none of the Africans. You know, the majority of human beings would just go, thank God they're gone. Now, that's a bonus. All right, we got rid of Pat Robertson. We got rid of Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
We got rid of all these assholes. They're all gone. Let's get on with making this a better world.
Well,
and they treated it, you know, and the movie, of course, treats it as if the tragedy is to be left behind.
Yeah.
Because now the Antichrist is going to cause war and all that. But this egotistical, fundamentalist Christian belief that they're the important ones and all the rest of us are a bunch of losers.
Yeah.
That's what this movie is about, you know, and I just like to tell them all to get stuffed.
But the rest of the movie is basically them trying to get back to New York because they're in the middle of the Atlantic and the co-pilot has been raptured.
Yeah.
And that leaves,
and the navigator.
So that leaves poor old Nicolas Cage to get them back to land. And of course, nobody at the airport is talking to anybody. No. And he has to try to figure out a place to land because the airport's all socked in with all sorts of rubbish on the runways or something.
Yeah.
And a lot of planes have gone down because both the pilot and the co-pilot were raptured.
Crazy guy. This is what God would do. This is Jesus' plan, is to kill as many people as possible in horrible ways as soon as he's taken the good people out from us.
Yeah, that logic doesn't make sense, especially because a lot of the people on the plane were nice people.
I know.
Yeah, they were helping each other. Yeah. Of course, there was a few, you know.
Nicolas Cage is going to hell, of course, because he's an adulterer.
Of course.
Right.
And so the stewardess. So at least they had two of the crew.
And the daughter is damned to see the last miserable days on Earth. Why? Because she rejected the mom's constant yammering to
repent,
become a loony like her.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's your choice. Be a yammering loony and go sit on Jesus' right hand for all the fun that'll give you. Or stay on Earth and be glad that the Christians have vanished.
Yeah. But the sad part about it is Sarah Palin wouldn't get raptured because she's a bitch.
Yeah.
And neither would most of the politicians because they're all two-faced assholes.
But the thing about Christianity is, so long as you're sincere in your belief that you're a good Christian, I think that's enough.
Really?
Yeah, you don't
have to really do anything nice?
No. But what's important is sincerity in your belief.
Really?
Yeah, well, I think so.
So, you know, Sarah Palin
from Catholicism.
Sarah Palin taking all this super PAC money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's her belief that she's doing it just for everybody else.
Whatever she does is for the good of all.
Yeah.
And the glory of his name.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Okay, so Nicolas Cage. Oh, my God, that man has made some bad movies.
Yeah.
Now, the original movie starred Kirk Cameron. They made one of these years ago in the 80s based on this series of novels. And I don't think he was in any more than the very first one. Same story about him being a pilot. I think it was the same story. Anyway, same idea. And they made a whole series of movies based on these Left Behind. So there was, you know, Left Behind, Apocalyptic.
I don't remember these at all.
Oh, no, because I think they only, you know, made it into the basement of Baptist churches.
What is this movie trying to say? I mean,
we better change our ways or we're going to be stuck on an airplane.
It really didn't go into that.
No.
It was...
This is not good theology.
No, once the people disappeared, it was like, oh, well, look at all these people that just got screwed.
Yeah.
Are they going to live or aren't they going to live?
Right.
Because they're in the middle of the Atlantic on a plane that is crippled, and the fact that it clips another plane when he could see it miles away, he couldn't just veer off a little bit.
Yeah.
No, they had to hit each other.
Yeah.
All the rest of the movie was about this one plane trying to land.
Yeah.
So what is this movie? Is it a rapture movie or is it a you know, an airport movie?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Why have both?
Yeah.
There was no real reason for it. It could have been as easily as half the people got poisoned.
Well, exactly.
Did you have the fish, or did you have the
airplane?
chicken?
Yes, Nicolas Cage is the white-haired pilot in Airplane.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is what happens afterwards. There's 10 years, 20 years, 66 years of tribulation where the Antichrist wages war against remaining human beings until finally Jesus comes down and settles the argument, and survivors, live or go to heaven or go to hell, whatever. But it is just that nonsensical. All this crap is based on the Book of Revelation, and the Book of Revelation is gibberish. Any number of explanations, interpretations for what was written, supposedly by Paul, I think, or John, or one of those
apostles.
Yeah, well, Paul wasn't an apostle. Paul came along afterwards and sort of codified it and essentially turned it into the business that it remains today.
Ah.
Paul came along after Jesus was dead. He didn't have anything to do with Jesus, so I think he just monetized the church. Anyway, it is absolute rubbish, and it's supposed to be sort of a horror movie, but I think it fails on all accounts, and it, apart from laughing at Nicolas Cage being so serious in such a silly movie, there's not a lot of entertainment value here.
Now,
as a thriller, it's not very good.
No, and I thought the whole concept was just silly.
It is.
I mean, is it going to be about the rapture, or is it going to be about a plane crash?
Exactly, yeah. Okay, our next movie is a straight horror movie based on a short story by Stephen King called Grandma. It's directed by Peter Cornwell, written by Matt Greenberg. The movie is called Mercy. Mercy is the grandmother's name. She's played by Shirley Knight. Probably the most interesting thing about this movie is that it stars Chandler Riggs, the boy in The Walking Dead. He plays George.
He looks younger for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Well, he obviously he's a year younger than the TV series. He's starting to grow up quickly now. He's hitting puberty and all. Mm-hmm. Francis O'Connor plays his mum, Rebecca. Hannah Hayes plays the girl next door, who has an interesting character, an interesting role she plays, and we don't really find out who she is until right near the end of the movie. And it turns out Chandler Riggs and Hannah Hayes are now going out. They're an item.
Are they?
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Both kids born in 90-something. Little children. Dylan McDermott makes an appearance. He plays Jim Swan, who has a thing for Rebecca, the mum. And my favorite character in the whole movie, Mark Duplass, playing Uncle Lanning. He is one wild and crazy alcoholic.
Sure.
Yeah, he's fun. I enjoyed him. So the idea is that Mercy, the grandma, and the little boy George, played by Chandler Riggs, were great friends. He says his best friend was his grandma when he was a little boy. And then she started going squirrely, and she wound up getting put in a home.
Yeah, wasn't she possessed or something?
Well, yeah, she's a witch, so she's got magical powers, and the only way to keep her, as she started to get older and more crotchety, she didn't like a lot of people.
No.
Grandma. The only one she really liked was George, the little boy, and as she got more and more squirrely, her magical powers made her very dangerous, so they kept her drugged in an old folks' home. And it's just got to the point where, they can't afford, or for some reason, she's dying now. And so her daughter, George's mum, is taking the old lady in to live with her and the two little boys.
And the little boy is trying to get her off the drugs.
Well, the grandma doesn't want to be on the drugs.
Yeah.
She asks him to throw the drugs away, so he does. He throws all but one bottle of the...
Yeah, he changes her injections to saline instead of what they were, whatever they were.
Yes.
So she's becoming
strong
more...
sedative.
Yeah, so she's becoming more squirrely because she's less sedated.
Yeah, she's self-aware and her powers are coming to the fore again. little boy is kind of an idiot, but he doesn't even really understand that.
No, he loves his grandma
magic.
so much, and he gets scared by her at the end.
Yeah.
But up to that point, it's like she can do no wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, she's interesting character. It's not as if she's completely malicious, but she seems to become overpowered at times by malicious spirits. And she does evil things. But she isn't simply black or white.
No.
She's treading a path. And we find out by the end exactly how complicated this path is, and the reason that she's both angry and acting out. I couldn't help but think it's second childhood, The old lady is acting like a petulant little baby, throwing tantrums and stuff.
There were moments like that. Yeah.
I had my grandpa living with us for a few years when I was a boy, and how close to the surface, that's what I learned about old people, how close to the surface their emotions can be.
Right.
The smallest thing would set my grandpa weeping, and could literally be a song on the TV on a commercial, or just he and my dad having a conversation, and the next thing you know, it's triggered a thought in him and he's crying.
Yeah.
And just like, good God. I would have thought the older you got, the tougher you got, but not in all cases.
I'm finding that my dad is becoming like that.
Yeah. They can be very maudlin. They can... because I think in a lot of ways the past is closer than their boring reality in the present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also everything seems to bug them.
Oh, really? Oh. Then I must be very old. Everything bugs me. So I enjoyed that one.
It's like a very small movie, and
it is honestly
not too memorable.
No. It's like I say, it's okay. It's a nice little movie. I think it's on Netflix, so an easy one to watch over Christmas if you're looking for a movie.
A Christmassy movie?
No, not too Christmassy. I think they sold this on Chandler Riggs being in it. I think they wanted a vehicle for him. Just as, so many of the people on Walking Dead are hot right now. They did the same thing with Lost. They do the same thing every time there's a hit TV show. Quick, let's get more exposure for these people.
Or if they had done something previous to their stardom, then all of a sudden they come out of the woodwork.
They'll re-release it.
Yeah.
But this one definitely, while, it was just made in the last year. So I think they rushed it and they got it out. It has a slight feel of a TV movie to it, although it may have been straight to video. Probably was straight to video.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to our last movie, which is very definitely a theatrical movie. It's called Irreversible.
You saved this to the last day.
Oh, we did. 2002 movie. It's French, from France. Written and directed by Gaspar Noé. It stars the beautiful Monica Bellucci as Alex. Vincent Cassel is her boyfriend Marcus. And Albert Dupontel plays Pierre, who is an ex-lover of Alex. And gets along with Marcus. They're not great friends, but Alex asks her former lover Pierre to look after Marcus for her. So he does. He sticks with him throughout the night, and that's sad for everybody. The story is told in reverse chronological order. So at the beginning, we're having a very heavy French existential conversation between these two losers in a little apartment somewhere in Paris. And the point that one of them makes is that time destroys everything.
Yes.
It's true. It just, things wear out, things run down. There's a noise outside their window. They peer down and they say, oh, it's just that faggot club down on the ground floor. It's a gay club called the Rectum.
Yes.
Couldn't get more blatant than that. And it is full of rough trade. There are homosexuals of...
Well, there's people streaming out.
So, yes. Well, because there's an ambulance there and the cops are crawling all over them.
And they're hauling people out of the establishment.
Now, the language through this movie, excuse me, quoting the movie there, I don't mean to sound homophobic, but the movie is just filled with the foulest images and the foulest language I have seen in a hell of a long time.
Yeah.
It shocked me. I'm not easily shocked, but I was pretty shocked by this movie.
Not only is this movie shown to us in reverse order,
right,
scene by scene,
right,
the camera is floating all over the place. The camera can turn upside down at any point in time.
Yeah.
It can reverse directions. It can do loop-to-loops. It can do whatever. It's constantly moving, so that the screen is, if you were watching this on a big screen, you would get pretty...
You could get seasick.
Because it's just constantly moving.
Yeah, it's wild.
Which is really wild. Not only that, it turns out the first 30 minutes of this movie has a noise that is like 28 hertz, a low frequency that they shoot out that's supposed to make you more vomitous and sick.
Right.
It caused nausea and also vertigo. So they were purposely...
It's like the brown note.
They're purposely trying to make the audience feel a certain way, as well as the camera tilting and also going in backwards. Now, each scene is a one-shot kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it appears
that way.
Yeah.
There's been some digital editing, but what they want you to think is that each scene is one take, and a lot of them are really long takes.
Yeah.
I mean, they can go on for like 10, 15 minutes.
Let me explain a little bit more about what the plot is. So, the two guys up in the room, and these are very unsavory characters. They look down and they say, "Oh, it's just trouble at that horrible gay club again." And sure enough, one guy is got a broken arm and he's being taken off in an ambulance, and another guy is being arrested, being told by the cops, "You're going to do 10 years for this easily. You know, you're going to catch AIDS, getting raped in prison." You know, it's just brutal.
Yeah.
And then it goes back, and the previous scene is the guy with the broken arm being followed by his buddy Pierre. And Marcus and Pierre are in a gay club, and they're looking specifically for this guy who's called the tapeworm. Tiana, I think, is his name. And, you know, and it just goes all the way through this horrible, dark, filthy,
it takes at least 15 minutes to go through this place, and every corner, people are doing rude
disgusting things, men. It's all men, and it's just...
disgusting things all over the place.
Super rough public sex. It's hideous. As a straight man, it was really stomach turning.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it had been men and women, it would have been stomach turning. The camera and the filth of it and the darkness of it, it's just so unsavory. And when they finally find this guy that they believe is the tapeworm manages to break Marcus's arm, and the other guy, Pierre, then jumps in, and using a fire extinguisher, he repeatedly cracks this guy, the attacker, in the head until he is completely smashed his skull to pieces. It's just hideous.
Yes.
And it goes on and on. It takes like a minute of blows before his head is finally crushed and he stops twitching.
Yeah.
And there's another guy just watching with it, and people are like wanking as they watch this. It's all part of the night's excitement. It's they're most low lives. Oh, hey, they are the most hideous people. This is not a normal gay club.
No.
This is a place for the scummiest of scumbags.
Yes, the sickest of sick.
And then, you know, and it goes backwards and again and again and again, and they're hunting for this guy, and then it goes back, and our two guys, Marcus and Pierre, they discover the poor woman, Alex, being loaded into an ambulance, and she's been beaten beyond recognition. She's in a coma at this point. It goes back behind that, and we find out that she was brutally, horribly raped. And again, that's a 10-minute scene of her being raped and then beaten unmercifully by this monster. And it goes back beyond that. Half the movie now takes place, and we just learn about these characters. We learn about the three of them, and that, you know, they're all quite likable. She is so sweet and so beautiful and so likable that what we see and what we have already seen happen to her, what we know is just ahead for her character.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And this brutal rape, it just goes on and on and on. It's just the ugliest rape I've ever seen in a movie, and they're all ugly. But
They
this
shot...
Really, let me finish my point. After seeing what is done to her character, and then it goes back, it's later in the movie, but it's earlier in her evening. She's in bed with Marcus. He's like teasing her, and he's getting a little rough with her. It's all right, it's within the bounds of sex between consenting adults, between lovers. But what he's doing to her, putting his hand over her mouth and holding her down and all this, it's everything that the rapist did to her, times 1,000.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I don't want to. And she's pushing him away, and he's tickling her. And it's a mirror of the violence that is done to her. And it does point out something that is not an original thought, but sex contains a lot of violence within it. There is a lot of pushing and whacking and screaming if you're having a good time and all the rest of it. And oh my God, what a movie. What a movie. And while it isn't, strictly speaking, a horror movie, there isn't anything supernatural, it is a horrible movie, the same way that, say, Taxi Driver is a horror movie. It's just, oh my God, it is hard to watch.
Yes.
And it is the most brutal rape scene I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of these movies that where you have to experience it once just to see it.
Yeah.
But it's not something that you're going to walk away from and say, oh, that's great. I feel good. I feel good about myself and the world.
I hope they make a musical out of that one. Yeah.
It's an experience. That's what it is.
It's like a Serbian movie.
Yeah.
It's so brutal, but I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
But I'm not rushing to see it again.
Yeah.
I would be tempted to go and see it in the theater simply because of the way the camera moves and all that. It must be startling. I was just watching it on a laptop, little, regular-sized Mac laptop, and I'm there sitting on the bed. I've got the laptop on my thigh, and I'm watching the movie, and the credits start at the beginning of the movie. The end credits begin, and they go right from all the little bugs, they call them, the little symbols and logos and stuff, and it's going up the screen rather than down. So we're getting it in reverse, and then the first that I've seen before, but the first really squirrely thing happening is that there's just a very slow tilt to one side. And by the time I realized this was happening, I felt as if I was the one tilting.
Uh-huh.
So on a movie screen, it must the illusion must be terrifying.
Yeah. And like I said, they went out of their way to make people sick, and they were quite proud of the fact that 200 people walked out when it was first shown at Cannes Film Festival.
Well, that rape is just monstrous. It's one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. Even actual news footage is often easier to take than what they staged in that.
Yeah.
That rape just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. That's the problem. A lot of the scenes went on and on and on.
Which, of course, is realistic.
Yeah.
It is the way horrible things go on. They don't end just because a guy comes along and says, cut.
Yeah.
They don't end.
No.
The logical end to this scene is when he's beaten her unconscious.
Yeah.
Then he can walk away because she's no fun anymore. Oh, so scary.
Anyway, it's recommended that you see it but not like it.
Yeah. No, I think if you like this movie, you got big mental problems.
Because it's like overkill.
Yeah.
It says not only is it a horrendous story, but they film it in a way that it's a horrendous way of filming.
Yeah.
It's like they're keeping you off balance.
Right.
Through the whole movie. It's brilliantly done. Brilliantly done. But hard to watch.
It's such a gritty, grotty looking movie too. The world that they inhabit at the beginning of the movie, which is the end of their story. Now, I just wanted to mention on a lighter note, I don't know if you've seen any of these, Mark. Have you seen this TV series, The Town of the Living Dead?
No.
That's a series, I think it's wrapped for the year, but new in 2014, and it's about a town in Alabama, a little town many of the folks in this little town have been working to make a zombie movie.
Oh, yeah.
6 years they've been dicking around trying to shoot scenes for this zombie movie.
Is this a documentary?
They want to call it 3 Days Dead, 3 spelled THR33.
Oh, okay.
Which shows the level of their competence, because that doesn't make any sense. Is it 33 or is it 3? Anyway, they're a bunch of amateurs, and they're not just amateurs. They're not competent. They're incompetent amateurs, and they've been making this movie. They've got a writer-director. He thinks of himself as a writer-director, but he's terrible.
So this is what the show's about.
The show is about them continuing to make this ongoing movie. This is the 6th year they've been dicking around with it. And they got a deal from Sci-Fi Channel that if they can finish it, like in 6 months, it can be broadcast on Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
So now they have a reason to hurry it up and get it done. But, of course, now they got a TV series about how ridiculous they all are and how bad
is this based on real...
Yeah,
real people?
Yeah, a real bunch of idiots.
Oh, so it's
Alabama.
Like Real Wives of real zombie makers
show.
of. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I thought it would be more clever than that.
Yeah, no. That's what it is, and the movie that they're making it just seems really, really amateur hour stuff.
Well, we'll see when it comes out on Sci-Fi Channel.
If it comes out, yeah. Okay, folks, well, let's just quickly go back through the movies. Predestination, I really liked it.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Automata, I also liked that. Not as much as Predestination, but worth seeing.
Yeah, a small budget, but it looked good.
It did. Good little sci-fi movie. Apocalyptic, not so good.
No,
pretty cruddy. Left Behind, good for a laugh if you want to laugh at it.
I just didn't know what it wanted to be.
No.
It was a dumb movie to start with.
Yeah, very much. I think any time that you're first and foremost want to make something of a religious bend, you're looking for trouble.
Yeah, but at least make it about that, not about repercussions because everyone's disappeared.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd like to see the real inside scoop on what these nut job Christians believe.
Really. That. I mean, what are they going to do up in heaven?
Yeah,
it's like what the.
Point at us and laugh.
I don't know.
Hey, look, there's my relative suffering.
Face it, these people like Sarah Palin and these other politicians, they're all money oriented. And if there's no money up there, what the hell are they going to do?
I know.
Well,
I think even more than money, it's power.
Yeah.
So they'll be telling the angels what to do. And
next thing you know, they're going to be kicked out.
Yeah, I hope so. Okay, Mercy.
I thought it was forgettable.
Yeah, okay. I think I liked it a little more. I thought it was a fine, nice little horror movie that, the whole family could watch together. Well,
okay.
It's true.
You want to do that? Okay.
It's nice enough little movie. Irreversible. Oh, there's one for the kids.
Yeah. That's something you want to keep in a locked cupboard somewhere.
Get the 4-year-old out, put them on your knee, and explain to them exactly how the world works.
We're going on a little trip.
Yeah, we really are. And the Town of the Living Dead, probably avoidable. Okay, folks.
I don't like these reality shows.
No, you didn't watch them. I gave them up, but because that was like a horror themed one, I thought I'd check out the first episode.
Sure,
but that's all I watched. And I won't watch anymore.
Reality shows to me are just exploitative.
Oh, they are exploitative. Yeah, they are very much. Okay, folks. So we'll be back next week, or we might take a week off.
I think we're going to take a little time off, and then we'll do our best of shows.
Yeah, we'll get our best